So this is the first event in the Internet Computer Hackathon series. We'll be doing a couple of educational events before the hackathon starts on the 4th of October. And then we will also have a few more kind of technical ones during the hackathon once it starts in the first few weeks. But you can sign up for next week's event, which is actually a hackathon information event through the link in the chat there as well. And yeah, this is the article, which has all of the information, the dates, the challenges as well. But we'll be sure to go over those in the hackathon information event, which is taking place in a couple of weeks. Oh, wow, we have a diverse audience around here. Very, very, very different places. Awesome. We were wide. Yes, we are, Laszlo. Cool. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much most of it from me. I'm going to hand over to Liz, who is from DFINITY, and she'll be telling us all about the Internet Computer Protocol today.
Cool. So I also wanted to give the chance for my colleague, Maddie, to give a short intro about himself as well. Maddie, if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, of course. Thanks all. My name is Matthias here. I also work for the DFINITY Foundation. I'm a product marketer and have been helping out pretty much on everything from website to content to events to engagement to working with the developer community and helping understand how we can really help people build and develop on this new Web3 ecosystem. So it's great to be here. Been with DFINITY for a little over a year. It feels like, you know, multiple years at this point, being in the crypto sphere. So it's great. And, you know, really excited to be here with Encode Club. Thank you all for joining, especially from all over the world. So I know that time zones are all over the place. So thank you for joining at odd hours for everyone. So appreciate it.
Completely agree. And just a couple of words about myself. So I'm Liz. I work at the DFINITY Foundation. I've been here for around 4 years in a lot of different roles, but currently work on the developer ecosystem side of things. So it's things like organizing hackathons and events and so on and so forth. So it's been great fun. And today we're going to tell you a little bit about the Internet Computer. And you know, this is meant to be a sort of collaborative two-way street. So if you have any questions along the way, definitely let us know in the chat, and we hope to be able to answer all of your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it.
Yeah, looks good for me.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So Maddie, if you want to kick us off in the presentation, feel free to take it away.
Yeah, happy to do so. So today we're going to be talking about the Internet Computer. We're going to just kind of take it from the beginning as to where this technology comes from and where the inception of the idea is from. Next slide, please, Liz. So when we're looking at the Internet Computer, it's best to kind of talk about the shoulders upon giants with which we've built this technology. So everybody is well aware of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so I think it's fair to just give a little bit of a high level as to what their roles have been in the technology when looking at the innovation of blockchain. So the first innovation of blockchain was 2009. The Satoshi white paper was written on Bitcoin, peer-to-peer digital cash, and the invention of cryptocurrency. So the role that it has now evolved to play in today's ecosystem is much more close to a role of digital gold, a store of value, an immutable blockchain with a very consistent finality rate, you know, with blocks and basically the first project to create the concept of a decentralized ledger, right? That is owned by nobody but the community. Ethereum in 2015, you know, white paper came out from Vitalik. The main conception here was taking the idea of the immutable ledger, but evolving it to be able to be programmable. So with smart contracts. The smart contracts have the promise and the initial vision of creating a world computer. And the vision of that was really one that resonated really early with a lot of the community and also led to a lot of this early stage development for the Ethereum project. The Ethereum project now is one of the most widely recognized and well-known blockchain projects out there. The main focus of Ethereum, where they've really found interesting innovation that has changed and led to this Web3 discussion. When we speak Web3, it's about the decentralized web. What they've really been able to elevate and evolve is certain applications such as DeFi, NFTs, and these newer technologies that have led to removing a middleman and actually putting creators and, putting wealth back into the hands of the populace as opposed to just the small and select. So there's a lot of interesting things that have come from this innovation. And DFINITY is the foundation actually that has built and developed a new blockchain protocol called the Internet Computer. So this has been in development for some time. A lot of the DFINITY Foundation is a research org based out of Switzerland that has research institutions in both Palo Alto, San Francisco, as well as Switzerland. And the main focus is really on the development of the Internet Computer blockchain, which is a cryptographic innovation that brings the smart contract concept, but elevates it into what we now call a canister, which is a canister smart contract. So what these enable is the ability for anyone to create a smart contract, but it has also the ability to update and query as well, in addition to just execute, right? So where the smart contracts on Ethereum have the ability to execute once both terms are met, there's an ability for these smart contracts to actually be composable. So now you can use these canisters to deploy front ends of applications as well as back end logic, as well as store information, et cetera, et cetera. So now you have the ability to deploy a completely decentralized application using the Internet Computer. Whereas if you're hosting a dApp on something like Ethereum or other projects, more often than not, the front end will actually be hosted on something centralized like AWS or some other provider. So where the Internet Computer comes in is now being able to create a completely decentralized stack and using the innovation of Canister smart contracts, which allow you to take any code, compile it down into WebAssembly. We'll get into these details later, no worries. And be able to deploy that as a back end or a front end and host it on a decentralized blockchain. So the benefits of the Internet Computer is that you now have a blockchain that is running at what is called web speed. So when you're looking at the finality rates of something like Ethereum, I think it's about a 14 or 13 second round for a block to be completed, right, for a consensus round. Whereas on the Internet Computer, it's less than 0.2 seconds for a query call or 2 seconds for an update call, right? So now you're enabling the ability for developers to create web experiences that are similar to what you see today on something like a social media product or on an app on a mobile, where you're really just interacting with it in real time. You have a nice UX and UI that seems similar, but it's all being powered on chain. So we're enabling this completely new revolution. So Liz, I think we can jump into the next slide. And so the use cases of the Internet Computer that we really want you all to focus on, that we've seen a lot of really interesting success on early, as again, we've just launched now as a public blockchain in May. So there's been a lot of really early development and a growing ecosystem of new developers that have been building, both coming from traditional environments such as mobile development and web development and more, and also crypto developers that are now finding that they have, with the Internet Computer, which uses new concepts like reverse gas, which makes it much easier for end users to interact with apps without having to pay, or dApps without having to pay. This now enables some pretty interesting use cases. So we'll jump into them. So the tracks that are set aside for the hackathon are amongst these 3 prizes. Again, we do want you to develop anything and everything that you could conceive of with the Internet Computer, so don't feel limited by these tracks. But first, we'll focus a little bit on NFTs. NFTs are non-fungible tokens. They're best known as little JPEGs of interesting pieces of art that people will pay a lot of exorbitant amounts of money for sometimes. But at the end of the day, there is some really interesting applications here. NFTs can really be used for digital ownership, right? So we're thinking of rethinking how you can do everything from music ownership and digital sales to art to ticketing to even digital passports and voting rights. So there's a lot of really interesting things that can be done when you're looking at the Internet Computer. It's a really environmentally friendly option for NFTs. The way that the whole ecosystem has been structured, and Liz will get into these details later, really caters itself to have low energy usage when doing any of these activities. And as a result, there's no gas for assets for end users, but also when a developer is minting these things, it's extremely, extremely low cost relative to other platforms. And we can get into the numbers later. But again, the NFTs are extremely interesting in the sense that you can mint just about anything on the Internet Computer, whether it's a JPEG or an actual 3D piece of code and not just a recorded GIF, if you will. Again, then we go into gaming. Gaming on the Internet Computer is an extremely interesting space. It's budding very quickly. There was a hackathon on another product which we'll talk later that featured all games. And the benefit of this is that all games are decentralized, gives you an ability to have some pretty interesting and nuanced options. There's tokenization, there's play to earn, there's NFT capabilities. And we'll jump into a couple of these examples that really do cross between NFT and gaming in a really interesting way and make it seamless on the internet computer. And then finally, social media. So being able to take, again, something like Reddit, something like Facebook, and actually rebuild it on the internet computer where it's decentralized, governed by the community, where your data isn't shared or stolen, is something that's extremely exciting and impactful. So Liz, I think we can just kind of jump into the examples quick. So then we'll be able to get to the meat of it. So one of the use cases, NFTs. The internet computer has had a few series of NFT drops. A lot of them have been free for the community, made by the community, and some of them are now being converted into games. So there's this NFT marketplace called Entrepot. They've now built out the ability for anyone that mints an NFT on the internet computer to go list it onto their marketplace and create an instant opening for it. As you can see here, these are some of the like top sold chronic critters. These are uniquely generated using the randomness of the internet computer itself, another unique feature that can be tapped in by developers. And all of these are created, but one of the unique functions of these NFTs is that they were launched, and then afterwards, the creators have now launched wearables for your NFTs. So NFTs on the internet computer have the ability to be updated, improved, changed, modified. There's some really interesting applications that can't be done with other blockchains due to the ability for Canisters, smart contracts to be, again, updated and composable. Again, we can go to the next. And so one use case that was extremely popular, there was the IC Punks drop. It was a widely advertised drop for internet computer focused crypto drop. So 10,000 unique NFTs were dropped to a community. There were over 200,000 people trying to claim them when they went live. The website had a massive influx where it actually tested some of the boundary nodes on the internet computer. So it was like a good product test. There's a lot of really interesting write-ups you can read if you really care about the protocol data. But the interesting thing is these were free, they're dropped. And as you can see, some of these have been sold for well over 188 ICP and down the list. So there's an interesting market of different types of NFTs that are being built. I see a question about what are token standards. There's actually an ongoing debate and style of different types of token standards being used on the internet computer. So that's something that we'd love for you all to explore. But there are some protocols that we can share in the materials afterwards of some projects and some styles to be able to map. But for instance, these are wrapped IC punks. So Entrepot was able to wrap an NFT in a different protocol standard and be able to put it on their marketplace. So there's a lot of interoperability amongst the ecosystem. Next. So then use cases when we're looking at gaming. So Cube Run, a classic game, which has been now hosted completely on chain. So you're able to take a lot of the ways that you kind of know and understand how to develop any front end, back end app or dApp, and then now you can basically just deploy it with the front end on the internet computer hosted in a Canister. So this whole thing is running on a smart contract. It's been compiled into WASM, and then now you're able to play this game. Next. And then Rise of the Magnite. This was a product, a game that was developed for Internet Computer Hackathon on Discover. Discover is a social media platform similar to Reddit that's completely decentralized. And the interesting thing about this game is that there's characters that have different attributes. Think about maybe like a Magic the Gathering card where they have different powers, and you place them amongst a board, and based on where they are, they beat or are defeated by your opponent. And at the end of the day, you collect these different chips, and you can change your characters and improve them. The really interesting thing is that every single character on this game is an NFT. So again, there's a lot of crossover between NFT and gaming here. And so what this really means is that each character that you have is now tracked via its own Canister ID. And so now there's applications in the future for, if there's another iteration that a generation 1 character cannot be carried over or can receive certain additional attributes, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then next. And so then the use case of social media. So Discover, it's a decentralized version of Reddit. It's decentralized completely end to end. There's actually video capabilities, image capabilities. It's extremely smooth and seamless, upvotes, downvotes, categories, just like your favorite platform, but you log in with Internet Identity, which is a decentralized blockchain-based authentication tool that actually can be used by any developer. It's used by a lot of the ecosystem products, everything from wallets to games to dApps and social media projects. And the nice thing about Internet Identity is that none of the projects can track you between or due to the blockchain verification. They're all given unique identifiers that are unique from one another. And so you can basically choose what you share with each project using Internet Identity. But again, going into Discover, this is a social media project that really does interact the exact same as how you would expect something built on a Web 2 interface with, Cloudflare and Netlify and all these different complicated stacks, but it's all built just with backend, front end, et cetera, hosted on the Internet Computer, all in different smart contracts that all compose together to build this really seamless user experience. Next. Yeah, as you can see. And then use cases to be additional for social media. There's District. It's a LinkedIn, basically, that's been completely rebuilt on the Internet Computer. So the benefit is that it's decentralized, but it's also user-owned. So there is a token that will be dispersed to the users of the platform, and those users will then be able to make decisions on the platform. For instance, decisions could be, is certain types of content allowed, or do we want certain types of advertisements? More often than not, a community will vote no. So there's an ability for really the community to now own projects, and for developers to think about, how do I build a product that isn't owned by myself, but rather by the community that participates in it, and then they become my evangelist and my marketing service. So a lot of really interesting different ways to think about how you build companies and technology when you're looking at this new Web3 ecosystem. Next. And so then just some interesting other use cases. So this is not a game, this is not a social media, this is not a, it doesn't fit in neatly into the category, but this is a lo-fi player where it's basically a music player that's completely interactive, hosted on the Internet Computer. You can click through different components of it. It starts making a song based off of an AI randomization that then learns over time and starts creating some pretty interesting, nice tunes. So again, this is something that may not fall cleanly, but can be hosted on the Internet Computer, built using kind of a traditional stack or traditional development stack. And so, yeah, we're just really excited to, give you some inspiration here on some of the different things that are being built already. Again, it's a new ecosystem. And so there's a lot of interesting things to be built. And when you're looking at a new ecosystem, when you have new technology, we really do want you all to kind of see how you can think through, what does smart contracts afford? What does decentralized nature afford? What does working with the community or giving community governance let me do that's unique? And I think that's we're really hoping to see you all kind of extract. So now I'll pass it over to Liz as we kind of get into the Internet Computer itself, as I'm sure there's plenty of questions, but again, we'll get to the Q&A at the end. But yeah, Liz, take it away.
Cool. Thanks for that, Maddie, and thanks for walking us through all these examples. So one thing, Maddie, I realized that while I'm screen sharing the keynote, I can't actually check the chat. So if you want to answer some of the questions, that would be really great.
Of course.
Cool. So, definitely. Thank you. So just to recap what Maddie was talking about earlier with this evolution in blockchain, starting out with Bitcoin and then going to Ethereum as the programmable currency to the Internet Computer today. I know that everyone might not have the same level of knowledge as it comes to blockchain or cryptocurrency, especially if you're new to the space. I just wanted to recap some of the details there. What I find really interesting about Ethereum and what makes it a step up from Bitcoin, which is digital gold, is that it's more than just a digital currency, right? It's also a platform upon which developers can both build and monetize apps. So another way of thinking about it that I found very helpful for myself is thinking about how the iPhone has transformed the phone to a platform that could run any number of applications, including a phone application, which opened up new avenues for developers to monetize. So Ethereum, I would say, is the most active layer one developer ecosystem today. There's a lot of applications that have been built, a lot of developers building on it, and so on and so forth. Ethereum pioneered the concept of the smart contract. However, I will say that Ethereum wasn't built to have the world's services running on it. So as a very illustrative kind of example, to be able to store 1 gigabyte of data on the Ethereum network is extremely cost prohibitive and would cost millions of dollars, which brings us to our current great innovation in blockchain today, which is the Internet Computer. It's created by a protocol called ICP, which runs on the current internet protocols, and it combines the compute capacity of special node machines that are run by independent data centers all around the world into one cohesive blockchain protocol. So why build on the Internet Computer at all? For the developers on this call, this might resonate with you. So today's traditional IT is very, very complex. We construct new systems and services using an assembly of components, including proprietary cloud services, server machines, databases, load balancers, CDNs, and so on and so forth. The Internet Computer solves this by abstracting the need for the above. So to recap, it's a blockchain platform upon which you can build decentralized applications or dApps and services, anything you could possibly think of that runs on the current web today, but makes it easier to do so and is also much more cheaper than Ethereum. So let's talk through some of the technology under the hood for the Internet Computer. And again, definitely feel free to ask away your questions. I cannot see the chat right now, so we can definitely tackle them at the very end of the presentation. So there's a new web standard called WebAssembly that is very essential, not only to our platform, but many other platforms, both within crypto or non-crypto. So essentially the context behind why this was created is when you write code in a programming language, to be executed, it needs to be converted into machine code. Computers don't understand human language. They only understand zeros and ones. However, different computers could represent the output into different strings of zeros and ones, meaning that the output could be different with exactly the same inputs with different machines. In contrast, the web browser is machine agnostic, which makes it a truly universal platform for programs. However, the problem is for 2 decades now, we've only had one programming language available to use natively in a web browser, which is JavaScript due to historical reasons. So Brendan Ike from Netscape coded, he actually created JavaScript in 2 weeks while working at Netscape. But JavaScript is not ideal for running big, complex applications in the browser. And also it'd be far too much work to rewrite non-JS libraries and modules and apps in JS. So this is where WebAssembly comes in. It enables developers to write code in multiple languages and have it run at near native speed on the web. And WebAssembly was created by Andreas Rosberg, who currently works at DFINITY Foundation, the nonprofit behind the Internet Computer. So what exactly is WebAssembly? It is a low-level assembly-like language that isn't actually written by humans, but is a compilation target for other existing languages like C, C++, Rust, and assembly script. So basically, you can use programming languages you love and you know to write programs, and then it compiles down to WebAssembly and executes directly in the browser. WebAssembly has huge implications for the web platform. It provides a way to run code written in multiple languages on the web at near native speed with highly computationally intensive apps running on the web that previously couldn't have done so. So again, WebAssembly isn't just something that DFINITY or the Internet Computer uses. It's a web standard exactly the same as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript with support for major browsers like Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and Edge. So I wanted to walk you through another important concept when it comes to building applications on the Internet Computer, and that is that of a canister. So a canister is a computational unit that can hold both program and state. It is where all code, data, and software lives and is executed on the Internet Computer. So all apps and software created on the Internet Computer is comprised of canisters. And they are powered by burning cycles, which we'll cover later on in this presentation, which represent computational power canisters can use on the Internet Computer network. So with canisters, what can you do? You can build the front ends, back ends, decentralized applications or dApps, ledgers, databases, really anything with canisters. And it is similar to the concept of smart contracts on Ethereum, but with more functionality. So currently on the back end, you can write canisters in Motoko and Rust, which are both WebAssembly compatible languages. As I mentioned before on the slide with WebAssembly, the canisters compile down to WebAssembly and the code is executed directly in the browser. On the front end, you can use whatever language or framework you already know and you like. So one fundamental difference of the Internet Computer compared to other blockchain platforms is that the end user doesn't need tokens to interact with any apps built on the Internet Computer. So if you've used apps that are built on top of Ethereum, you'll know that there's like very expensive gas fees and every transaction costs in Ethereum for the end user. This is not the case for the Internet Computer. Canisters pay for computation. So what that means as a developer is that you need to ensure that your canisters are topped off with cycles, the unit of computation on the Internet Computer. So let's talk through what Motoko is. So the Internet Computer is a polyglot platform. And what that means is that any language that compiles down to WebAssembly can be used to build on the Internet Computer in the future. So currently we have SDKs available for both Rust and Motoko. So Motoko is a language that we've created here at the DFINITY Foundation. It is a modern programming language with some features which make it optimized for building on the Internet Computer, such as native canister support. And it's sometimes referred to as the native language of the Internet Computer. It's designed to be approachable for programmers who have some basic familiarity with modern object-oriented and functional programming idioms in JavaScript, Rust, Java, et cetera, et cetera. So if you are not familiar with this already, I wanted to give a quick overview of the concept of wallets, which is important to all blockchain platforms. So crypto wallets keep your private keys. So these are the passwords that give you access to your cryptocurrencies. And it keeps them safe and accessible, which allow you to send and receive cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. They come in a lot of different forms, from hardware wallets to mobile apps. And unlike a normal wallet, which actually holds cash, crypto wallets don't actually store your crypto. Your holdings live on the blockchain, but can be accessed using a private key. So what that means is if you lose your private keys, you lose access to your money. So as it pertains to the Internet Computer and ICP, there are a couple of wallet options currently. So you can send and receive ICP directly in the terminal. It's not, maybe the most user-friendly. I don't use this. I don't do this, for example. Next, you could use an exchange such as Coinbase, which provides hot wallets. Third, we are a decentralized platform and our method of governance is called the network nervous system, or the NNS. So when you access the NNS dApp, a wallet is created for you already, so you can use a wallet there. As the fourth option, a plug is a browser-based wallet created by Fleek, which is one of our grants recipients, and it's a really beautiful experience. It's very, very similar to MetaMask if you're already familiar with that. Lastly, there's a wallet called Stoic Wallet created by Tonic Labs, which also created some of the use cases that Maddie had covered before, like Entrepot, which is an NFT marketplace, and Rise of the Magni, which is a blockchain-based game. And they're also one of our grants recipients. And of course, there'll be many more to come in the future. And if in the course of this hackathon, you are interested in creating a wallet, you're definitely welcome to do so. So one of the concepts I wanted to walk you through, which is unique to the Internet Computer, is that of cycles. So just to take a step back a second, there are 3 use cases for ICP. So number 1, you can convert it to cycles, which is used to power canisters on the network. So in the process, you take ICP and you have to burn it. So the ICP is taken out of the supply to create cycles. This is a one-way transaction, which means that once you convert ICP into cycles, you cannot convert cycles back into ICP. Number 2, ICP could be, it's a digital asset, the same as Ethereum or Bitcoin. Third, as I mentioned before, as part of a decentralized platform, you need a decentralized way to make decisions, which means that DFINITY Foundation isn't the only party which has the ability to make governance decisions. Anybody who takes ICP and locks it up into what we call a neuron is able to participate in network governance. So that's another use case for ICP in decentralized governance. So if you do decide to participate in the Encode Club Hackathon, which we encourage all of you to do, what you can do in the course of the hackathon is that as you're experimenting with your different applications, you can build locally or experiment in a sandbox environment if you decide to use the programming language Motoko. And Maddie will walk through what that looks like later on in this presentation. But you know, when you're playing around, when you're experimenting, you don't need any cycles. But if you do want to deploy your application to the Internet Computer, you will need cycles. However, don't fear, we got you. So you can essentially use our cycles faucet to receive $20 of free cycles to experiment on the Internet Computer. So that's just faucet.definity.org. If you have a GitHub account that's at least 3 months old. Cool. So I'm going to hand it back to Maddie to talk through some tools and resources for building on the Internet Computer.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, looking over the tools, and thank you, Liz, for giving the awesome in-depth overview of the Internet Computer. There's obviously many more layers to peel. But as far as where to find these materials, the main overview is going to be the Internet Computer Showcase. So maybe, Liz, if you just give me the screen share, I'll take over quick. I'll walk through where to find these materials on the website, and then we can share these, kind of just jump back over into the presentation quick. So
screen's all yours.
All right, thank you. Just gotta allow Zoom to find the right home. All right. Okay, so DFINITY.org will be your mainstay. We can just send that in the chat, but to find the main components that you'll want, anywhere that you see start coding, that'll bring you into the developer center, nice and easy. Additionally, up here in the right, so we'll just jump in there right away. So the developer center is going to get you to most of your resources. Docs up here, forum to get the developer forum. Most questions that you have when running into something around deploying something or code or compiling into a certain language, there's going to be a question there in an in-depth thread with probably all the materials and resources you'll need. Additionally, support, and then also our developer Twitter as well. So just, you can stay tuned for updates from the development side. But when you get into it, our technical library will just get you an overview of some of the concepts and materials. So if we go look at that quick, it's really just like how it works on everything from chain key, Motoko, the network nervous system. So if you're reading through and you're looking at some of these more protocol layer components and you want to get an understanding of what does that mean, just always can go into that technical library. Otherwise, start coding. So if you see here, there's just a quick 5-minute deploy hello world, so that to give you a quick understanding of how it works. You can see it's pretty basic. This is how you can kind of work with the Internet Computer, but additionally, there's some deeper dives. But let us just scroll down a bit further. The Motoko SDK, Rust SDK, great resources to actually get coding, and then where you really want to go. So your free cycles, that's where everybody's going to want to go scroll down to. Again, that's where you do the GitHub authentication. If you don't have the link to the faucet, that's the easiest way to find it. I've already gone through it, but the main step, you just connect to GitHub, you put in a principal ID, which again, you can just go back to the homepage and figure out how to get that set up, and then it'll connect you right away. So that's pretty straightforward. Fleek is the one powering this faucet for us. They make everything really seamless. They also, might as well give them a plug while we're at it. They offer some hosting products, so they make it really easy to just deploy a front end to the Internet Computer. So while you're building a hack, totally go ahead and check out Fleek as a good resource on some materials on how to deploy to the IC itself. So again, back to the developer center, we're going to the quick start. So if we're in the quick start here, we can check out actually the introduction. So for first timers, this gives you the basics on the Internet Computer. The primer is great. It's just a sub 10-minute video that really goes through all the things that Liz and I went through from our, Dominic Williams, the chief scientist and founder of DFINITY, going into the details. And then otherwise, you can just get yourself into this quick start guide, check out the local development or network deployment scenarios, start building. And then additionally, once again, everything else you'll need to kind of dive in is there, but let's go back here. Internet identity documentation, we discussed that earlier. So how to embed that into your project as well. The the Internet Computer interface specification. This is the really deep protocol stuff. If some of you are really into that blockchain layer, and then the showcase, so you can go and find your dApps. But otherwise, you're going to want to also check out the Motoko playground. So if we go back to the homepage, you can also find it by scrolling your way through. going through the showcase. Also, if you want to check out some more dApps, here's a nice list of a bunch of things that have been created. If you want to get inspiration, go through and click on any of those. And then we can also, again, another way to get to the free cycles if you can't figure it or can't remember where they are. And then here, go to the Motoko Playground. So the Motoko Playground is a nice way to really start testing and learning and playing with Motoko without having to use any cycles or deal with any of that sort of complexity around it. It's a nice little web-based IDE. Note, this doesn't keep your content permanently, so I wouldn't recommend this for coding a hack, and then leaving it and coming back the next day and trying to continue to work on it. But it's great for staging and testing. And, certainly you could build a whole hack that you then deploy on Motoko Playground as the final product, and that's totally great. So I'll leave it at there, and then I think I can jump back to there, Liz. So.
Cool. Yeah, let me go ahead and reshare my screen. But yeah, it's great to see you guys all in the chat, and definitely encourage everyone to participate. And certainly if there's any questions that you have or any way that we can help you guys out, I'm more than happy to do so. Great. So we'll share these slides after the presentation, but we've compiled a list of tools and resources. And on top of this, we're creating a special onboarding package for all developers. And we'll be leading a couple of workshops as the hackathon begins to really give you that help that you need. And we'll make sure that there are avenues to ask questions if you get stuck on anything. So, we want all of you to be successful and all of you to have a great time. So, so don't worry, we'll definitely have you covered on that front. So, a lot of different tools and resources, as Maddie had mentioned, in terms of like our SDK and various tooling, package managers, sandbox environment to play around in Motoko, where you don't have to use any cycles at all. We have a bunch of community created resources in terms of like video tutorials on how to build on the Internet Computer. There's like different block explorers, there's code examples, and so on and so forth. So should be a great starting point for you all. Just to recap some of the main ones, just the Motoko Playground. So if you want to just experiment with building a Motoko without having to download the SDK or creating a wallet or cycles, you can go ahead and check out the Motoko Playground. And I know our URLs are like really crazy, so we'll share the slide with you. And you can also find these resources on sdk.dfinity.org. There's also the SDK if you're ready to start building and deploying to the IC. If you already know Rust as a programming language, you can start building and deploying to the IC in the Rust programming language. And on Friday, October 8th, we're also going to have a workshop for those of you who are already familiar with Rust on how to build an application on the Internet Computer in the Rust programming language. So if you want to build and deploy to the Internet Computer without having to worry about cycles or a wallet, you can just deploy a static site or application very easily using Fleek. So you can think of this as a sort of Netlify, but for the open web. And they also support different paradigms such as hosting via IPFS, which is affiliated with Filecoin if you're familiar. And as I mentioned, no one is going to obviously have to pay a dime to be able to build and experiment on the Internet Computer. So if you're looking to receive cycles because you're ready to deploy your application, go to faucet.dfinity.org. Cool. So that just about sums up everything that we've prepared for you guys today. We'd love to open up the floor to any questions. And I can go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And Maddie, do you mind fielding some of the initial questions?
Yeah, happy to. How do we want to do this, George? Is the best way to just kind of pull them from the chat? Or
yeah, do you want me to kind of go through and read out the questions that haven't been answered so far?
Yeah, totally.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you.
And I'll just put the link for the hackathon sign up or the website as well, in case anyone hasn't yet signed up. Yeah, let me start from the top so we can go through. We had what is a canister, but I think you covered that quite well. What's the biggest application in the ecosystem at the moment?
That's a good question. I think if you define it by active end users, it's probably Discover. They have the Reddit decentralized version. Let me see if I can drop a link in here for you. Okay, here it is. for the chat. But that DApp, again, it's completely hosted. This is a redirect link, so you can do that as well. So someone that was asking about the name service, discover.one. It's really started to create a ton of sub-communities that are both from the internet computer ecosystem and abroad that want to be on a platform that is community-owned, community-governed, and rewards you for participating. You receive a token that currently does not have a real application, but as soon as there's they've kind of built it out, there's the plans to make this like an actual token that's a governance token for the project itself. So a lot of really interesting usage there. And again, it launched, I think they were an early grantee from the foundation before launch. They've built this out since. Rick Porter, the developer behind it, he's a great developer who's been working with some of the biggest tech companies and decided to start building on the Web3 ecosystem. And so that one's got about 42,000 active signed up, and there's a ton more lurkers. I think there's a couple 100,000 lurkers there. Plug Wallet from Fleek, they've reached over 100,000 users from what I've seen. And then Entrepot Marketplace, the NFT marketplace from Tonic Labs, that's the main NFT marketplace that's on the internet computer, and it that has to be by far the most active place on the internet computer right now. So I think that those three probably get the win as far as the top.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine the NFT app is very popular at the moment. Yeah. Cool. We had a few questions around people working in teams like with Europeans and non-Europeans. Yeah, would love to see that. Head on over to the Discord. I'll just put a link in the chat. There's actually a Find Teammates channel, so you can post a bit about yourself, maybe what you're thinking of building in the hackathon, and yeah, feel free to form teams from that, and we can help as well. Feel free to just reach out to us, and we can try and help you form some teams. Yeah, we had a technical kind of error question about running something on ICP. I think for kind of the technical questions, posting the Discord or the ICP developer Discord that Laszlo put a link in, I don't know if you can pop that in again, would be fantastic. They have some good developer support there. Cool. How do I get free ICP for development? I believe there is a faucet, is that right?
Exactly. So there is a cycles faucet. So if you go to faucet.definity.org, as long as you have a GitHub account that's older than 3 months, then you'll be able to receive $20 of free cycles. And that should be, way more than enough for the context of this hackathon. But if there is something, if something does occur and you do need more cycles, you can definitely reach out to us. So my email is liz@definity.org.
Awesome. And Samson asked, so is the internet computer similar to IPFS or Filecoin, or is it different?
I think there's definitely a lot of similarities in the sense that both can be used for hosting, but I would say that the mission and the vision for the internet computer is much greater. It's to be running the world's services directly on blockchain. And also, in my opinion, I think that there's a lot of people in the crypto space that'll say one chain or one project's going to be the sole winner, another chain or project's going to be another winner, like the winner take all kind of mentality. But I feel very strongly that the future is going to be multi-chain. So, some people might use the internet computer for certain things, might use Ethereum for certain things, might use IPFS for certain things. So I think that each of these stacks will have their own place.
Awesome. Rachel has asked, is the code open source for Discover?
That is a really good question. So Discover was created by Rick Porter, who was previously working at Google and quit Google to do this full time. So he's currently in the process of raising funding, I believe. I don't think his code is currently open source, but I can certainly ask him if there are plans to make it open source. And I imagine there would be some open source component, especially since the project will be introducing tokenization in the future for community governance.
One thing to add, Rick is a very active developer in the community. So if you ask questions on the forum or other places, he might actually jump in and answer. He's on Reddit, he's on Discover, the platform itself. So while the code may not be open source, I'm sure if you had a question for him, he might actually just answer it. So yeah, good to.
Nice.
But yeah, great Liz. Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, just a question from myself. The lo-fi music thing looked really cool. Is that live, and can we kind of play with it now?
Yeah, let's find you the link. We'll drop it in the chat.
Oh, thank you very much.
Of course.
Quite interesting for me.
Yeah.
Will there be technical workshops in the hackathon? Yes, there will. We're just about to announce them either later this week or very early next week. They'll be in the Discord, the Twitter. We'll email them out to everyone that's registered for the hackathon as well. I think, is it 4 in total, Liz, there'll be?
Yeah, there'll probably be around 4 different workshops and sessions, including an open office hour session. So if you have questions or you get stuck on anything, then we can definitely help you troubleshoot in real time.
Nice. Anna asked, what's the deadline for the next round of grants?
That is a really good question. So the grants are done on a rolling basis. So there is no deadline to apply for grants. And we offer grants at 3 tiers. So 5,000, 25,000, and 100,000. Typically 100,000 is reserved as a follow-on grant. So if you've received a 5,000 grant, the next step would probably be trying to get you to the $25,000 level. If you've already qualified for a $25,000 grant, we'd love for you to be able to qualify for the next level. So it's our goal to make sure that everyone has a really positive experience and they get all of the resources that they need. But certainly we encourage everyone to apply for the grants program. I think we've already earmarked $1 million out of over $200 million earmarked for the total grants and developer ecosystem. So, we're really, really excited in terms of developers such as yourself. We're exploring new use cases and are really the future of our community, we think.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great initiative. And there'll be some as part of the hackathon as well. You can read more about it in the announcement article. But yeah, definitely the chance to get grants from the hackathon. Dominic asks, what standard of project is expected to be created in the hackathon? 4 weeks seems a bit short for learning the tech and Motoko and coding something.
Yeah, I would say as long as there is a front end and a back end, I think that's fine. And I know it seems very daunting, but we're going to provide some code samples, which you can hopefully use as reference, which already have like a front end and back end together. And I know that it seems incredibly daunting, but there have been other hackathons that people have organized in the past, like community hackathons, which have been, a much shorter time frame in which people were able to build and deploy applications. So I have full confidence that you also would be able to do so.
Yeah, and that's also the reason we're having these educational sessions before the hackathon fully starts, is so people can start learning and then get building once it does start in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I'd say use this period as a time to familiarize yourself, maybe even start playing around with some of the tutorials and the code, and then yeah, get building. A few more questions, I think. What's your favorite thing about working for Internet Computer, or I guess DFINITY?
I had answered this in the chat, but I can also say it live. It's so I've been at DFINITY for almost 4 years now, and I've never had a job like this where everyone is working toward creating cutting edge technology, which has literally never been built before. So it's not like a playbook kind of thing. So we're all like charting our own course, and there are a lot of ups and downs, but it's very exciting. No 2 days look alike, and also I get to have the opportunity to work with really amazing colleagues, such as my colleague Maddie on this call here. And Maddie, what's your favorite thing about working for DFINITY?
You're too kind. But yes, no, honestly, I mean, a great example. All the people that work at DFINITY are incredibly kind and just very talented people. But as I don't know, there's just an incredible ability for getting so many people to work towards such a lofty goal that's also so community driven and work with the community. And there's something that's really inspiring about being at a not-for-profit that's trying to create a new type of technology. And there's a lot of uncertainty, but it's really exciting time, and being able to work with a lot of different members in the community and come out and share our vision and hopefully just like inspire some people to build something completely novel and rethink how we build technology today, knowing that I think all of us live in a world where there's we live in the pitfalls of technology, right? There's a lot of like issues that we all see, and so I think it's about actually actively trying to make a change. And you never know if it's actually going to work, but you can sure just go ahead and try. And so I think this is just an incredible opportunity for all of us to really, like, one step at a time, make, everlasting impact in the way that we build technology and companies and interact with each other, and just rethink, the models of how, that we actually create value, and how that value is, again, given back to others. And so I think that, again, I think we can all be working on a lot of different things with our time. So it's inspiring to be working on something where we can, work with so many people that are trying to build new things. And, I think that's just something that I really loved working here. And it's fast paced. We're in a new environment, and it's good to be, at the forefront of something like blockchain technology, where we've all been, I think if anyone says they know what's occurring in it, they're lying to you. So it's good for us to just all continue to explore and develop and work together to see what future this does build for us. And it feels like the early days of the internet to a degree. And so obviously, I don't think any of us are old enough to take part in that revolution. So this is our chance, if you will.
Awesome. We've got 2 questions. Are there any oracles on ICP, and are there any self-sovereign identity projects being worked on?
So the Oracle question is a great one. I know that we've been having conversations with various Oracle providers, but also if you'd be interested in creating an Oracle solution in the course of this hackathon, we'd certainly welcome that. In terms of identity, I think there are several ways in which that can be accomplished currently on the Internet Computer. One such method is called the Internet Identity, which is a blockchain-based method of authentication. And it's really interesting because you can use, to be able to authenticate on devices such as like the iPhone or MacBook, you can use biometric markers such as Face ID or your fingerprint in the case of a MacBook to be able to log in. So yeah, really, really interesting technology there. And Maddie, feel free to chime in as well.
Yeah, I think the question of self-sovereign identity is extremely interesting. It's something that's actually been covered by a publication called The Reboot, which is a news media or editorial publication associated with the DFINITY Foundation that covers interesting problems with big tech. But as far as different solutions, Liz covered a main one, which is Internet Identity. That's just one that was created by the foundation for the community to be able to use as a self-sovereign authentication option. But with the Internet Computer, it paves the way for that to be executed in a lot of different ways. And so there's different providers that are doing different methods of authentication. Plug Wallet, for instance, has their own, kind of similar to an Ethereum standard. So I think that this is, an opportunity to explore those different authentication options and what that could mean. But yeah, great question.
Nice. And then I think Michael asked, is this hackathon for anyone around the world? Yes, it's kind of focused at Europe, but we'd love to see teams kind of made up of people from inside and outside of Europe. So feel free to jump in the Encode Discord. We have a Find Teammates channel in the Discord there, so you can kind of find people who want to work on the Internet Computer Hack and maybe form some very decentralized teams. And then a final question we have from Mark is, are there any plans for bridges from ICP to standard internet apps? I assume he means Web 2.
Yeah, that is actually a really good question. And I will have to get back to you because I actually do not know exactly where we're at this point in time. As far as I understand, I think that will be possible in the future. Currently, what we've seen with the applications that are built, not only with the Internet Computer, but applications that are built on other blockchain platforms, they tend to be like crypto native, because I think the value proposition of building on a blockchain platform is that you're able to create like new stores of value and new ways of interacting online and so on and so forth. But if anybody has an idea that specifically needs to reference something that exists on the Internet Computer today, on the internet today, then definitely reach out and we can get your answers sorted.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Thank you very much, Liz and Matty, for a fantastic session. A really good overview of the Internet Computer. Next week, as I mentioned, we'll be doing a introduction to the hackathon event. So kind of learning all about the structure, the prizes, the challenges, and we'll also kind of give general tips for doing well in hackathons and cool things to build. So yeah, be sure to come along to that. I'll just pop the link in the chat now. But yeah, otherwise, join the Discord, start chatting, start forming teams, start looking at the tutorials, and we'll be launching the hackathon on the 4th of October. So see you all soon.
Excellent. Thank you so much to Anthony and George for organizing. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It's really, really great meeting everyone and seeing you guys tuned in from all over the world. And we hope to see you at the hackathon.
Awesome.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Take care.
Cheers. See you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.